Meeting to be recorded, that means that this meeting will become part of public record. No cause for public hearing or old items of discussion unless you have something. If you count this as old items of discussion.
Yes.
So work order for durable slate. The one thing that I announced, I will not need to announce it at the next public meeting, is that we had a quasi-executive session, I guess, if you would, with durable slate to talk through a proposal to amend their scope of work. Durable slate is the contractor that is replacing fixing the slate roof and painting the dormers and some of the other work around there. So anyway, Commissioner Eggleston's largely been spearheading that side of things, so I'll turn it over to him to talk about the work order changes that they are suggesting. And personally, I think will save us a lot of money in the future.
So the meeting that we had, I would consider an informational session, just because Durable basically went over what their change orders were. I would ask, for some support to move forward on the change orders because I think that they're needed. So the first change order is in relation to, and I can give you copies of them before we leave, so that you have them. So the first one is related to the dormers on the building, which have a lot of intricate woodwork along with different types of metal. As they've gone through and cleaned everything off, and repainted it and sealed it up, the dormers have been an issue. Have been an issue because the wood on the dormers, which as you can see is like this intricate, different kinds of designs that they have all around them, has deteriorated. For the most part, the wood's in good shape. It's just like this is probably came with a 1925 edition actually, and has deteriorated over time. So nobody really knew when we first pitched this job what level of deterioration there would be on the roof. So in different areas. So this issue is cosmetic more so than it is with leaking or issues with water on the roof. Now basically we're at a point with this where we either need to replace these or we need to repair them. And basically what Durable Slate is pitching is a repair, because replacing a lot of the woodwork, a lot of this intricate woodwork would be far more expensive than to replace it, and so, or to repair it. So what they're pitching to repair it is basically they have this, what they call is a wood consolidant, and basically what they do is they pump it full of this chemical that basically fills up the wood absorbs it, and then it holds the shape of the wood, and then there are some things that they will do to touch it up and to fix it and to augment it. But basically it's just as good as if they repaired it, or it's close, and it's much cheaper. And then also they're adding like additional repairs and then adding some metal to these in order to minimize the amount of water that the wood actually.
Some copper toppings so that
Yeah.
it kind of directs water off of it.
Yeah, and so the total cost of that is $44,286. They have wood deck replacement that was part of the original quote or the original contract, which after they've reviewed it isn't going to need replaced. So that's worth $7,500. So they're basically taking that out of the contract. So the total cost of this repair will be $31,360, which is what they're, and 40 cents, which is what they're asking for the first a change order. To me, this makes a lot of sense. You know, this wood is very old. It's held up fairly well. Part of the reason it's held up well is because it's actually on the side of the building that gets a lot of sun, and I think it's dried out, you know, from water retention. So that's one. The second one is basically with the way the building's built, there is a gutter at the base at different spots that runs around the edge of the roof. It's built into the roof. Currently, that gutter, there was a repair that was done at some point, and this is roughly 80 feet of gutter on the 1925 edition, which is, the way the repair was done, the gutter is only about 1/3 of the size it should be in that space, so it's not collecting as much water as it should and directing it off the roof, which is part of the reason why we feel there's so much water that comes down off the side of the roof onto the sidewalk, which is not good because we want to direct that water away from the base of the building. So there's that issue, and then basically the original bid was to coat the gutter with the same, a similar material to what they're coating the rest of the roof with, which is highly durable. It's very good material, but you know, has a 20 to 30 year lifespan. What Durable is pitching, since they're up there working on it, is replacing that with a copper gutter, which would take up the full space of the gutter rather than it being, would expand the gutter, allow for a larger volume of water to come off of the roof or be channeled out of that system. And then also the lifespan on it would be 2 to 3 times what the cost would be to, or what it would be to do the coating, which we would have to replace in another 20 years, 15 to 30 years. That cost is $15,585. Now, the only thing is we don't have the price reduction from McCreary yet, because McCreary is the one who's contracted to put the coating on the gutter. So there will be a cost reduction on the other side for that. I don't know what that is right now today. That said, I still think $15,000 to put a better 80-foot worth of gutter in the roof is especially something that's going to last 2 to 3 times longer than what we're putting up there. I think is a fair cost.
Yeah, starting with number 2, classic example of pay a little more up front. We'll get great bang for our buck. It'll save us, well, save the county. We'll be long dead before this needs to be worked on again.
Hopefully.
Well, but we're only a century old.
Yeah, we'll be pretty old by the time it needs to be replaced.
Same thing with change order number 1. While the scaffolding is up and they have the lifts here, it just makes sense to do it now and not have to pay in the future to have this stuff worked on and pay for the cost of, how do they say, 25 grand or something in order to get scaffolding up.
Scaffolding up, yeah.
Who knows what it costs to rent a lift, but it's just saving money in the future by spending a little bit more now.
Yep.
So I'm in favor of both.
Okay.
All right, if you are, then I'll sign both of these and we can get it over the door and sleep.
Okay. Good.
All right, any questions?
Nope.
Or feel free to get a picture of that.
I'm going to, yeah.
Okay. But they wanted us to be careful and warn everybody that it's lead-based paint, so don't lick it.
Yeah, as long as you don't eat one of the wood chips, you should be okay.
All right, we have one announcement, which is that the work session for next week, that's the 5th, is canceled. Main reason being that, at least I'll be at CCAP, you'll be at CCAP too.
Yep.
So we're going to be at the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania summer meeting, so there won't be a majority of the Board of Commissioners here to talk about anything. Following week, I'm good. I scheduled another one that I was looking at projects that you want to give an update on?
I don't think so, not this time.
Okay. I've been over at 911 this morning for a couple hours, and I'm gonna go back after lunch, and I think we're a couple weeks away from cutting the police over onto the new system. Probably, installations are actively going on right now. We've got the, most of the police cars, I believe, have their radios installed. They're not using them yet, but they're installed, and most of the fire departments either currently have or are getting their base stations installed. It's turning out to be a much slower process than we anticipated in terms of installing them into fire trucks, and the reason is because every fire truck is different, whereas police cars are pretty much the same. It's just taking longer to get through the fire departments. But making good progress. I don't have an estimate on when we can cut the fire departments over. I really don't. The police, we think, will be in August.
Sure.
I think that's the main project that I'm working on. Besides, I did mention to you that I'm working with HR on the employee handbook. So if either of you have things that you want to make sure are addressed, just shoot me a note, and I'll ensure that I look at either writing or revising. Obviously, what I'm doing is I'm lifting from other counties' employees' books as well as the Forest Warren and our own. So I've got Crawford's, Forest Warren Human Services, and the current county handbook up at all times. I'm kind of sifting through and pulling parts that are relevant and good for all. I think that's it for projects. We don't have a commissioner meeting this week, correct? No. So we're going to talk about there. There's no departments or committees here for the first time ever. I'm starting to feel neglected. Schedule-wise, I am leaving tomorrow, but I'm going to multi-year budgeting with the city.
Was it tomorrow?
Yeah, Eric and I are going to go over to that.
I was going to go over that. I didn't put it on my schedule.
Yeah, it's tomorrow at 10. Wednesday, I will probably not be at the courthouse because I need to run down to Oil City for the Northwest Commission meeting. And then I also am going down to Oil City for Northwest Commission meeting on Friday. So both Wednesday and Friday, I will be probably not in the courthouse.
I should be here all week.
Okay. The next week, on Saturday, I'm leaving for CCAP, and I will not be back until either like dark 30 on Wednesday morning or noon on Wednesday morning. I have a meeting with Senator Tooney on Wednesday. Then we're back to normal. Of course, that's fair week, so. I know I need to volunteer.
Next week's fair week?
Yeah, next week's Salvation Army, I'll be working their booth for a day, so I'm going to be gone for CCAT for a couple days a week. I'm going to be at the Salvation Army booth for a day, so I won't probably be at the courthouse a whole lot, but I'll be there with my phone and such. We're getting awful close to budget season. A little longer. Anything schedule-wise for you?
No, I was just gonna go over really quick last week. We took a trip down to Lawrence County to go over their land bank and all the related stuff. This is the stack of papers we got from the Lawrence County Redevelopment Authority and Planning Department. Pam went, Rory Dunlop, the grants administrator, Dan Glotz, planning director, Phil Gilbert, tax claim, and Nathaniel Schmidt, the solicitor. And we spent probably 2.5 hours conferencing with them on their land bank and their setup to deal with blight and redevelopment. And I felt like it was really informative. I thought that they gave us an enormous amount of really good information. Did you feel that way, Pam?
We do,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
on the extra $15.
Yeah, the $15 fee. They're in a little bit different situation than we are. And it was really interesting. They, how every county has different issues that they deal with. In our case, our repository list for tax claim is like 90, to 100 properties, roughly. Theirs is around 700 for their county. Now they're about twice as big county-wise, population-wise as we are, but their level of blight and tax delinquent properties is like 4 or 5 times bigger than ours is, and a lot of it's in Newcastle. So in some ways it makes it easier for them because to raise the bar, they have a lot more properties to deal with, so they kind of actually can move faster than we can. But they did give us a lot of information on the concept, how they function with their land bank, and then also how their tax claim department runs too, because there's a lot of questions that Phil had actually related to it that I was glad that he had a chance to talk to him. And so the plan's going to be to take all, I've digitized all this and forward it to everybody, and then we'll kind of reconvene with the group that went down. This will be part of the redevelopment task force moving forward too, is taking this information, digesting it, figuring out how we can incorporate it into what we're doing. They had a really neat side lot program, I thought, where they made it very easy to bid on properties that are vacant, like vacant lots, and they've basically shortened the window it takes for people, like citizens, to get a hold of properties that are next to them that are blighted. That was the big thing that I took away from it, was they put some tools in place so citizens can kind of peruse the rolls and then go after properties that are next to them with relative ease. Like right now, we have this long, process.
And at a lower cost.
And at a much lower cost, so they move a lot more properties a lot quicker, which I think is really neat. So.
They have a lot of vacant properties on the repository,
Yeah.
where we have a lot of mobile homes.
Yeah. Yeah. They're definitely different challenges. One of the interesting things too is that they don't use any CDBG funds for demolition at all. Mostly because of the headaches related to it, which I found really interesting. But yeah. And we'll go over at some point the relationship they have with this nonprofit organization that redevelops the properties. It was really neat to see the stuff that they were doing. Like we walked through, they were basically redeveloping an entire block of the city that they walked us through, where they had 2 new constructions. They took an old colonial house and rehabbed it, and that was really impressive.
Yes.
The work they were doing. So, and a lot of that has to do with them drawing down federal funds. Like the nonprofit's big enough that it can put money into purchasing properties, going after them, rehabbing them, and then they basically draw down federal funding that pays for pretty much everything, but they have to sell the house at a reduced sub-market value to people that are middle to low income. So it was a really neat program. So
Good, I look forward to reviewing the documents.
Yep.
The only other thing in general discussion that I wanted to bring up was to draw your attention to Act 67. It's naturally the county's blocking the Sentinel, which is the newspaper in Cumberland County I'm trying to access. But basically Act 67 of this year allows the sheriff's office to provide school resource officers. There was some ambiguity when Act 44 passed a couple of years ago on security.
Mm-hmm.
So Cumberland was in the same situation as Warren County in the sense that it was rural some of their schools were not in municipalities, so they couldn't hire a school resource officer from the municipality that had the police. And that's why it made a lot of sense for the sheriff's office to step in and provide a school resource officer because there was no municipal law enforcement. Much like Warren County, where except for like Beatty and Youngsville High School, there's not municipal coverage in state police, and state police are forbidden from doing school resource officers. Therefore, sheriff's office has stepped up now for a couple of years, and it was kind of questionable last year whether or not a school resource officer could even carry a gun if it's a sheriff's deputy, because the law didn't explicitly say that sheriff's deputies could. That has changed. The new law absolutely spells out that sheriff's deputies can be school resource officers, can carry guns in schools, etc. So that was a point of discussion. I remember a couple years ago when we first started all of this. The law is now changed. I just wanted to let everybody know, like, it's not an issue anymore. That what we're doing is totally above board.
Okay, so it's passed.
It's passed.
Oh, okay.
It's signed. We're good to go.
Good.
I mean, it's not that we were doing anything wrong before. It was just kind of a question.
Gray area.
Yeah,
Yep.
and now it's not. It's black and white.
Good.
Anything else for general discussion?
Not this time.
Any questions? No reason for just executive session I'm aware of, so I will sign the durable Slate amendments and give it a hand. And,